absolutely amazing. I mean, talk about action and adventure. But to really tell it well, I need some help from all of you. I need you to be God's people, the Israelites. So when I tell the story, you'll do whatever the Israelites did. Give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Great, let's get started. God had brought his people out of slavery in Egypt, but then he led them through the desert for 40 years. Okay, everybody up. Let's walk in place. Good. After all that time wandering in the desert, God's people reached the land God had promised them. The priests carried the Ark of the Covenant, the chest that reminded them that God was right there with them. Everyone, hold out your arms like you're helping carry the ark. Good job. The waters of the Jordan River parted, and the people were able to go across the river on dry ground. Everyone, show me the look of shock and amazement that must have been on their faces. Ah! The Amorites and Canaanites already lived in that area during that time. They had heard about the amazing things God had done for his people, and they were afraid. So they hid behind the large wall that surrounded their city in Jericho. Everyone, pretend to hide. Here's where the story gets even more interesting. The leader of the Israelites was named Joshua, and God gave Joshua an unusual battle plan. Listen to this from the book of Joshua in the Bible. When Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him. The man was holding a sword. He was ready for battle. Joshua went up to him. He asked, "Are you on our side, or are you on the side of our enemies?" "I am not on either side," he replied. "I have come as the commander of the Lord's army." Whoa, the commander of the Lord's army! Joshua fell down with his face toward the ground. This warrior had an important message from God. It was a plan for how Joshua and the Israelites could defeat the city of Jericho. This was God's message to Joshua. "I have handed Jericho over to you. March around the city once with all your fighting men. In fact, do it for 6 days. Have 7 priests get trumpets made out of ram's horns. They must carry them in front of the ark. On the 7th day, march around the city 7 times. Tell the priests to blow the trumpets as you march. You will hear them blow a long blast on the trumpets, and when you do, tell the whole army to give a loud shout. The wall of the city will fall down, and then the whole army will march up to the city. Everyone will go straight in." Okay, this plan must have sounded a little unusual to Joshua. I mean, he and his men were ready for a fight. They were ready to use weapons and battle their way into the city. But God was telling them to do nothing but march and play trumpets for 6 whole days. Still, Joshua and the Israelites chose to trust God and follow his plan. So, let's start marching just like them. You can march in place, and don't forget, you're also blowing a trumpet too. And stop. That's day 1. Let's all go to sleep. Show me your best sleeping face. Well, your eyes should be closed. Okay, on day 2, the same thing happened. They marched and played their trumpets. Forward, march. All right, stop. Day 2's over. Let's go to sleep. Honk shoo, honk shoo, honk shoo. 4 more days to go. Let's do these super fast. March, march, march. Sleep, sleep, sleep. March, march, march. Sleep, sleep, sleep. March, sleep, march, sleep. Whew, we did it. 6 straight days of marching around the city and playing trumpets, just like God said. Nice job, everyone. Then came day 7. On day 7, God's people marched around the city just like God told them to, and they blew their trumpets just like God told them to. And this time they gave a loud shout just like God had told them to. Ready? 1, 2, 3, shout! Whoa, very nice. And guess what? Just like God had promised, the walls of the city came crashing down. The Israelites were able to rush right in. They completely defeated the city of Jericho. Thank you for doing such a great job as the Israelites. Let's give them a round of applause. Woohoo! God was with Joshua and the Israelites. He had given Joshua a good plan, and Joshua trusted God enough to do exactly what he said to do. I mean, think about it. Joshua could have decided that God's plan didn't make any sense. He could have decided to ignore God's plan and make his own, but he didn't. He followed God's plan because he knew that God's plan is the best plan. Let's say that together, our bottom line. God's plan is the best plan. One more time. God's plan is the best plan. It's true. We can trust God no matter what. We can't always see how things will work out in God's plan. Think about what it was like for Jesus' friends, the disciples, when Jesus died on the cross. They must have been so sad, and they must have felt like everything was all over. But later, everything made sense when they saw and heard that Jesus had come back to life. Sometimes we can't see how things will turn out, but it's important that we choose to keep following God and keep living His way. We can always have confidence in Him. Bye, friends!